Welcome back to yet another video on Spring Boot series. So this video is about what exactly Spring Boot profile is about, what are the advantages, how you can activate a profile, how to define a profile in a Spring Boot, right? What exactly the Spring Boot profile is, right? So we will discuss all this in this particular video. Uh, this video will be also helpful for the people who are attending interview because this is one of the important questions when it comes to profiles, right? So this is most frequently asked question. So stay tuned. Let's begin. Now, Spring Boot profile is one of the important way or the mechanism, right, for either defining or managing your different configuration for various environments, right? So you have different environments like dev environment, testing environment, feature environment, production environment. Okay, so that's where you make use of can manage your configuration over there. So it will help you keeping your configuration separate in the properties or beans, or let's say in any other environment, and you can manage it like the behavior of an application across the environment. So that's what the advantage is about. Now, what exactly Spring Boot profile is? It is one of the logical separation, I would say, for the configuration which can be activated basically. So based on certain environments, we want certain application to load certain configuration. Okay, so when it is started and running, right? So in that case, we need different configuration. So when you're what will happen with this is that different beans or a configuration which can be used based on the depending of the whether the application is running in which environment, whether testing, production, or any feature environment, we can make the use of the configuration. So that's what the benefit is around. So you might definitely change based on the environment. So you doesn't need to redeploy your application for each configuration, because if you are statically configuring this data in some hardcode Java, right? So it will be very difficult to deploy in certain different environments. Now, how do you define? Now, we have already discussed what exactly the Spring Boot profile is about and why do we use it. And now we are going to discuss how do we define. So there are different ways, okay, and several ways we can make use of defining the profiles in a Spring Boot. So one popular way is @profile annotation, right? So you can either annotate bean or the configuration classes with the profile to indicate that the bean should only be created or the configuration should only be applied if the profile is this or this is active, right? So you have configuration with the combination of @profile, and in that you can define in the double quotes that dev environment or whatever environment, and in that particular method, the public class dev config, you can define your logic over there, right? So that's what is one way for the dev environment. Now, if you want some other environments to load some other different configuration, you can same configuration along with the profile you can define. So when your profile is dev, you will have the dev config loaded. When you have the production, you have the prod config loaded this way, right? I hope you got this point. Now, there is another way where we can use it using the application.properties or YAML. So you can configure the properties in this particular or the YAML for this particular specific, right? So you can have the in general, that is a default one, application.property, where you will have the environment specific properties or default properties in that, and then the environment specific or the profile specifics, which are you should be only active for the particular respective um, profile which is active, right? So that we can use. So like the Spring profile active is equal to dev. So if it is dev, then it will activate the dev profile, right? And if you see here, application -dev properties will have server.properties is equal to 80, right? So here you have different properties in that particular -dev properties, right? So similar way, we can have a different configuration for the production with the -prod.properties. You will have a separate port and other URLs, right? Now YAML format, it's one of the I would say better way of looking it, or in a concise way of defining the properties and their hierarchy. So I mean, Spring Boot supports YML, and it's quite beneficial for the understanding whether we have written something duplicate or whether they are falling under certain hierarchy, right? So we make use of this YML in that case. Now you'll see in application.yml you have the same Spring profile active dev, right? So you have dev data, so you have different resources, the patterns, I would say. Now for production, we can have different URL and other stuff, right? So different application for the different environment will have a different properties. Now, how do we activate that particular profile? So there are several ways to activate it. One way is by using the application.properties or either using YAML. Now, what you can do is that you can specify the active profile directory in the appropriate, that is application.properties. Okay, so there is a Spring profile dot active dot is equal to dev, or in YML you have a hierarchy that is Spring profile active and then for dev, right? Via now you have the second method is using the command line. So there is the active profile can be passed into the command line while you are running the application, right? So there is a command where we run the java hyphen jar, then my whatever jar we are making to going to run, and then double hyphen the Spring profile active dev is equal to prod or dev, right? That's depend on your environment. Now, now we can also use it with the environment variable. Now there is one Spring profile active environment variable which we can specify the which active profile we want. So you have to execute the export that is properties is equal to dev, and then you have to run the application, right? So in case you will have that particular environment variable. Now you can also do it with the system properties. When you're running your profile, I mean, running your system, right, application, right, you can set that is equal to profile via JVM param system properties. So Java then hyphen D Spring profile is equal to active dot is equal to dev, right? Then you call the Java, I mean, it is a jar and then the Java your app jar. That's where we can use that. Now, along with that, actually, whatever we've been discussed, right, there is an conditional bean registration along with the profiles, right? So there are, I mean, you can use this profile at the rate profile to register beans which are based on certain conditions, right, on the active profile and certain profiles. Now, at the rate bean, and if you see, and then you have a profile, right, similar to that particular at the rate configuration, we have at the rate bean and then the profile. Similarly, we can define for the prod, and then only one of the beans will be created based on the profiles, right? Now we can use profiles with configuration classes also. So as we discussed this, I mean, we already discussed, right? That was at the right configuration and then with the profile, right? So we can define that. Now we can also have, uh, I mean, two profiles active at the same time by specifying with the comma base, right? So in that same property, you can comma and then add the another environment. So in that case, what will happen is that the both the environment will be active. So here, if you see the dev and the property debug properties are active, right? Now, what will take precedence and the profile, right? So, the profiles basically are resolved in the order they are particularly specified. Now, if let's say the profile is defined, example like both application.properties and via the command line. So, command line will get a precedence over the application.property. But if there is no profile is specified explicitly activated, right, the default profile will be used. Now the default property is usually the default properties that is without any profile, or maybe using the profile specified in the application.property. So that's where it will take from. Now there are some specific profile specific logging. So Spring Boot, which also supports it, like if the logging configuration example. So you can use logging level for different environments. Basically, let's say for dev or let's say for properties, you can have different log leveling, right? So you can define that log leveling uh, it's for the Spring Boot, Spring Framework.web is equal to either dev or debug or any array, right? So we can info or whatever it is. But if you see here, there is also a profile specific bean that is based on the conditional property. Now we already discussed that there is an alternate condition on property where we can have certain attributes like name, which it should be enabled, and then having the true, right? In that case, this will, I mean, along with the at the rate conditional on property at the rate and at the rate being, this combination can be used with the profiles to conditionally load certain bean based on the properties. Okay. Now, what is the advantages of using profile? So one is environment specific configuration. So there will be a separate configuration for different environment. Simple configuration management. Now you centralize some certain specific environment related in the one place. That is one of the advantages. You doesn't have to go to different location and change it and then you do it right. Now bean customization, you can conditionally load certain beans based on certain profiles which are active. You can also secure your configuration. So sensitive properties which can be stored securely for the production or any other environments, and we can exclude the non-production environments, right? That's how we can deal with it. Now, overall, if you look at the Spring Boot profile, right, you can keep your application related files like YML or the properties clean and organized by using this particular separate file that is in a different properties. That will give you a clear cut information what kind of environment will have what kind of configuration. You should avoid idea having the hard coded profile specific value inside the code so that you know when the deployment is happening on different environment, you you doesn't need to make the changes then commit it and then do for the deployment, right? So it should externalize it. Now while using the profile for testing or debugging purpose, you can activate certain debug profile or with the more verbose logging, right? So you can do that. That's all about Spring profile. If this video was helpful and also if you have any questions or if you want me to make any other videos on any certain topics, right? Please do let me know. If this video was helpful, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Uh, we'll look forward to you in the next video.